really are highly interested in the health of women, having women feel comfortable about advocating for their health. So that's always kind of central to what we do. We have a responsibility. Everybody that works in our company knows that we have a responsibility, and we don't take that lightly. We launched it, she was like, let's see. And it ended up being, I think, a lot bigger than any of us expected. It was growing really, really fast. So work is hard. But if you're working on something that's mission driven, that contributes to the health of others, that makes people feel better in their bodies, it's interesting how creative it gets and how much more fun, and how your team really gets into like the messaging, and you just want to keep kind of giving. So it's scaling to meet the demands of the force of this person who is changing lives.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Creator Ops Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Schreiber. The goal of this podcast is to educate you on becoming a great operator in the creator economy. On today's episode, I talk with Jen Pearson, the COO of Dr. Mary Claire Haver. Dr. Mary Claire is a board-certified OBGYN that's helped thousands of women with perimenopause and menopause. For the last 8 years, she's built an audience of over 4 million across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Jen has played a key role in building the Pause Life, which is Dr. Mary Claire's brand of supplements, online programs, books, meal delivery, and lots more. During our conversation, we talk through developing and launching products as a creator-led company, picking the best platform to build and interact with your community on, how Dr. Mary Claire handles product promotion as a trusted doctor, as well as the pressure to give accurate and specific answers to comments online, and lastly, how Jen thinks about building a long-term business that can live on long after Dr. Mary Claire retires. And now for my conversation with the COO of Dr. Mary Claire Haver, Jen Pearson. Dr. Mary Claire has built an extremely loyal following through YouTube and other platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Will you explain the content strategy that you guys have crafted around menopause education?
Yeah. A lot of what Mary Claire does is organic. So we don't get involved with her social media posts. That is completely all her. And I would say our social strategy is 80% pretty much following what she does, and then 20% what followers and patients may say. So Mary Claire's really driving the conversation. I'm not hyper involved in her research. She posts what drives her. And then what we do is we basically are watching, and then we're watching the comments, we're watching what trends, and then from there we'll potentially create more assets from that. But she drives a lot of the marketing strategy. So if it's even a strategy, I think she's just so passionate about what she does and getting more science information out there to just women in general and advocating for women. And it helps all of us. So kind of getting back to your original question of what our strategy is. So 80% is her. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of take what she does, and then we make sure that it's sitting on every channel that she doesn't touch. So her channel is Dr. Mary Claire. And so Dr. Mary Claire, when she posts something on TikTok, she scrubs it. She then puts it on Instagram, and that automatically goes to Facebook. And then that part's kind of done. Then we're watching the comments. If it's something we feel is a little bit more business associated, we'll post it on LinkedIn. No matter what, she's then taking that scrubbed video. She puts it into a kind of a file folder that we all share. And then our team will then upload it to YouTube as a short. Yeah, and that's really the strategy. I mean, it's not super scientific. It's really just a way for us to just make sure that if it's really gaining a lot of traction that we're putting up, sometimes it's personal stuff, so we're not going to obviously put that in other places. We also have the Galveston Diet Instagram, which is separate, and we handled that. That's kind of our playground, but that's really based on Galveston Diet tenets, the principles of the actual nutrition program. So that's kind of our playground, and the two are kind of separate. So we can talk about that, of course.
Totally.
And but she drives a lot of the conversation.
And that's one of her superpowers, is she can just turn it on like that and create so much content without having to sit down and having to beg her to say, hey, I need you to create X, Y, and Z types.
Yeah.
She just goes, which is incredible.
It's one of the biggest gifts as an executive in any company. I've worked for many, that you're constantly being tasked to come up with the direction. And there's not any of that. We are literally walking behind her, making sure that all these gems of knowledge are shared. And a lot of what she does, I mean, we're really lucky too, in that, she wrote a book about nutrition. She wrote a book about menopause, which has a, tremendous amount of symptoms attached to it. So when you have a book that addresses pretty much every symptom known at this time, there's so much content to be developed just from that information. Yeah, so we're very lucky. We have it's all at our fingertips. It's just how fast we get it out,
Yeah.
and what's the hottest topic, and that's kind of where our team has to get organized.
From all that content that gets put out on social, on email, YouTube, podcasts, you guys have done a really good job of building a group of really loyal people. You've taken the audience and then, put them into a Facebook group. Will you explain just the strategy behind the Facebook group and then why you guys ultimately decided to go from Facebook to Circle?
So when Mary Claire first started, it was strictly Facebook ads. So just to kind of give you like a background of where she started and before I even came in, the online program was developed first, and that was the Galveston diet. And she had really done most of her advertising on Facebook. She created videos around what the program was about and really just focused on nutrition for women in midlife. That was like the big one. Of course, she had gone through menopause. These were tenets that worked for her in her own journey through menopause and things that helped her as she was going through her own transition. And she, as an OB-GYN, felt like this is something she could really share with her patients. Eventually, it became something she felt like, well, I may have something here that could help more than just my patients, and put it on the internet. And found that Facebook was really just like a great vehicle to reach a lot of women, to tell her story, to talk about the program, and possibly run ads and bring more people to purchase. And, I'm always kind of careful because we are a business, we do have to make money, but ultimately we really are highly interested in the health of women and having women feel comfortable about advocating for their health. So that's always kind of central to what we do. But we do have to pay people and we have to make money, and it is proprietary content and research, and so there's that. But when I came in 2019, that was her main focus, was Facebook advertising. And then we started, it was right before COVID, because this was 2019 December is when I started. COVID started in March 2020. There was a few women that reached out to us and really passionate and saw great results in their own life. And Mary Claire kind of brought them in as coaches, not kind of, she brought them in as coaches because they knew so much about the program. And through some training and a little bit more, we started developing coaching groups on Facebook, and we were running them probably 4 times a year. It got up to once a month. It was very intensive. And because COVID, a lot of people were at home, it worked out. And we had a great response rate, and people were signing up left and right. And our coaches became kind of, an extension of Mary Claire. And it became this much bigger thing, I think, than we ever thought. Well, what was happening on Facebook was our groups, specifically like the coaching groups, you had to develop a whole new one every single time. So it was like all the content you were creating, you had to then take that content, put it on a new group. And then you had these old groups that were kind of, yeah, they're friends, but they existed, and you didn't want to cancel them because they were all friends and you didn't want that to go. But then they were kind of having their own conversations, and we were creating all these new groups. And even so at the time we were using a platform called Teachable. We still have students in Teachable that it's kind of a dormant site, but it's still there. So if people still want to access the content, they can. But so Teachable was separate. You had Facebook was separate. We had all these separate groups going on because of different paywalls. And we were just like, there's got to be a much more simple way so that we could run groups, but not have them have to like leave Teachable to get content to then have to repeat. And every month it was setting up. And then we were working with scheduling apps, like say like Hootsuite or, any of these like scheduling apps. And then they would like break down, and you'd have these women who were following. And then I'd have someone who was in charge of, but didn't see it until 10 that it was like broken. And then it was really just kind of stressful for all of us because we were like, there's got to be a better way. So we looked into Circle, and that was a way for us to bring a community. So it had a community. we could put our actual courses, we could run programs, we could have kind of everything in the same place, and we could also control the branding. And it was a very difficult move, I think, internally. And we knew it would be hard because Facebook is so easy. It is really easy to run a group on there, have people just already scrolling because they're talking with their friends and they come into the group. And it was just, I think a lot of people were really hesitant about moving over, and we got that. But I think for our team, in order to really grow, be able to scale it, to have a little bit more control, to make sure that people were getting the content, they had access to more content, that we could build out recipes, that we could make it so much bigger, it was the right move. And trust me, every 6 months we still revisit whether it's the right move because because Facebook is so easy. But I think for us, we do believe that we're creating a community of people who are engaged and it's safe, and they're invested. You know what I mean? So when you have Facebook, it's a fly by night, because and there's so much noise. Whereas if you're coming to our site,
It's intentional.
yeah. And as much as maybe it's not as big as it would be on Facebook, I don't necessarily think that's as important as having really quality content, making sure that we're addressing people's big questions, making sure that people feel safe. Also, not missing anything because it's real easy to miss things in Facebook. Things get rearranged, things go to the top, they go to the bottom, So it just gave us a little bit more control over our messaging.
Yeah. And Facebook's a really great starting point for a lot of creators. But just like you're saying, as you get, more built out, as you gain more people and you just have so much content, it does become a little bit of a hassle trying to organize everything. There's a lot of side conversations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When it comes to questions, you guys receive a ton of them. They're so in depth, they're so personal, they're about someone's personal medical history. How do you go about responding to them? You've got Dr. Mary Claire, but then you've got a team as well. Will you walk through what that looks like, trying to answer these questions as they come in?
So Mary Claire, honestly, she answers a lot of the first questions on her own posts. She's very interested in hearing what people say, reacting, making sure that she's addressing. But then gets to a point where she moves on. She posts sometimes 3-4 times a day. So she moves on. Our team, over the years, first of all, we've developed a very long list for questions, pages and pages where you can search through, look for answers to certain things. And most of the customer service team that's working for us have been with us for 3 to 4 years. So they're highly skilled and they care a great deal about these people writing in. They know that they're trusting us with some personal information, and we take that very seriously. However, because we don't know them personally and they are not patients of Dr. Haver, and to be quite frank, we don't want to give any misinformation because we don't know them. We're really careful to first kind of draw a line and say, look, we are not medical professionals. We don't have a patient relationship with you. However, we hear you. It's always about making sure that people feel heard, and we hope we do that. Sometimes we're not going to make everybody happy. We try to really paint with broad strokes, but you can't make everybody happy. But for the most part, we really try to drive people to, we have a couple options. So say it's specific to a symptom. If we have a blog post about it, we're driving them to that blog. If we know of another expert in Mary Claire's, what she calls her Menopause, it's a group of amazing other experts that maybe specialize in something, whether it's breast cancer or endocrinology, or we'll drive them to their pages because we know that they're also, doing great work. We will also, a lot of it is, I would say 50% of people that are writing in are looking for providers in their area. And we recommend different telemedicine partners that we believe in. We have a provider list. On our site, it is an unbiased list. These are not recommendations by us, but it is a list that at least they can see that there are testimonials coming from other women from around the country or even around the world that have had a great menopause experience from a menopause provider or any provider, whether it's a nurse practitioner or a nurse, telemedicine or a physician. There are testimonials in there. What we're doing is we're just making sure that they are a real clinic, but we don't vet these We don't vet them. So, but our goal is always to provide as much information and at least help them make another call to get to where they need to be. So that's kind of what we're driven by is, okay, maybe we can't answer their question, but maybe we can give them a little bit more to help them on their journey.
Yeah, give them the right tools and the right
Yeah.
resources to be able to explore and then make the decision for themselves.
Yeah. We're very resources driven. We're like, what else can we provide? What else can we put together? And as a side note, even our team now, I think we're just getting so many emails, specifically, not even like the comments on social, so many emails from people around the world. We're actually starting to reach out to organizations to talk to them about like, how can we help these people? Because we don't want it to go into a black hole, and we have a responsibility, I think. I think everybody that works in our company knows that we have a responsibility and we don't take that lightly.
And what types of organizations would that be? Just, I know a big part of your guys' kind of next phase and this next mission is to help providers teach them how to properly treat someone with menopause, perimenopause. What does that look like?
So the teaching, that's one thing. There are so many great organizations. There's the North American Menopause Society. There's actually menopause societies all around the world. So say someone's in Australia, there's an Australian Menopause Society. We actually have a list of all the different countries that have their own menopause societies. There's menopausetalks.org, which is doing a lot of great legislation and bringing this conversation forward in a beautiful way. I can always send you a list that maybe we can include in the show notes so that people know where to go. Because I think that's the biggest thing is Mary Claire has such a loud voice, but then they're kind of like, okay, I can't go see Mary Claire. I know she's full, or I need to be in Texas, but where do I start? And I know that I need to advocate, and maybe someone has an answer, and where do I go? And so they write us because they're like, I'm having this issue and I don't feel like my provider is listening to me. And I feel like you guys may have a little insight. And so, yeah, I mean, that's exciting. So from Mary Claire's side, I mean, nothing makes her happier than to spend time with healthcare practitioners that are interested in learning more about menopause care. And she gives a lot of her time for free. She does grand rounds with different universities. I mean, pretty regularly, she will go and speak at different summits for free. She's very, very interested in making sure that not necessarily her protocols, because that's a totally different thing, but that the information is getting out there for either people to learn more or when they're doing grand rounds, I think it's like a different, I don't actually know because I'm not allowed to go to the grand rounds, but she's very interested in educating different students for sure. And then there's the part where how do you train? And it's not just falling on the OB-GYN. She's really passionate that it's not just a OB-GYN's job to know what's going on with the health of a woman. It is a primary care physician, it's a nurse practitioner, it's your GP, it's your internal medicine, it's all these different, healthcare providers that also see women and can possibly see symptoms. And I think the ultimate goal and what she would love to do is, have some sort of program where she can teach other healthcare providers exactly what she does. There's always nuances, which we know, but that would make her so happy. And I think we're leaning in that direction. And, but she just signed for another book deal. She wrote the new Menopause, and we're starting with patients first. And what's really nice is about with the new Menopause is before she came out with the book, we used to, like I said, try to drive everybody to the website, maybe blogs for different symptoms. And now we can actually say, well, she's written a book.
Go ahead and read that.
Check it out. That could address some of your concerns. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Within the Pause Life, you've got many different products. There's the supplements, online programs, meal delivery, obviously the books that we've talked about. What was the first product you guys rolled out, and how did you decide to start with it?
So online program was first. The Galveston Diet was the first program we ever launched, and then it would be the coaching program. So from a product perspective, even though it's online or a service, those are the two first products. For supplements, we rolled out fiber and omega at the same time. That was as I started, actually. Mary Claire had a partner at the time who she knew from past life, who understood the supplement business very well, asked her if she was interested in developing anything. And if you follow her, you know that she's a huge proponent of adding more fiber into your diet. And so a fiber supplement made a lot of sense to her. And then omega 3, there's just great research on, but omega 3 and D specifically, because she noticed a lot, in her patients that vitamin D was generally one thing that women were lacking. So having those two, so the omega 3 plus vitamin D and then fiber, those kind of rolled out kind of quiet. We had the business partner, he rolled it out with us. She had some control over exactly what the ingredients were and what she wanted in it. And then we launched it, and she was like, let's see. And it ended up being, I think, a lot bigger than any of us expected. And it was growing really, really fast. So, and it's been kind of a surprise, I think, for all of us, because because it was kind of outrunning the nutrition program. And I think because she was always into, teaching and forming. The thing about supplements is that they only last for so long. It's technically a type of thing you put in your body, and there's only 30 days. So after that, people either love it, they hate it, and then they buy it again. And so to see like subscriptions growing and to see that people were actually really loving the supplements and had great things to say, it was like, oh, I guess we have a business here. So it kind of worked out because, like I said, you buy the book, you either follow it or you don't, but there's no really growth with that. That's it. Like, it or you don't. And, hopefully you're reaching more people, but so the supplements became kind of a big deal, and we started to focus more on it. So.
And it's nice on the business side, you've got the reoccurring part. You can get the feedback loop, just like you're saying. In 30 days, you're likely going to know if someone likes it, hates it, have they returned. What's been your biggest learning lesson building the supplement line? Because that's a massive business. It's a huge challenge. What has been some of the most difficult parts and learning lessons?
It's not as straightforward as I think that you're already outlining that it is difficult, that it is challenging, is a very true statement. It is a very challenging business. And because she is a physician, because she writes about nutrition, because her reputation is everything, and because we really try to deliver a quality product, there's a lot of responsibility with that. And the responsibility includes, a very rigorous standard operating procedure that I don't think a lot of laymen understand. And really, it's important for them to know that there are these standards put in place for different supplement manufacturers. The larger you get, the bigger the microscope. And, we're trying to grow with that growth. So everything we do is always with the intention of how can we make it better? How can we make our rules more clear? How can we adhere to these guidelines? Are our manufacturers adhering to these guidelines? We have our own set of rules. Our manufacturers have to have their own set of rules. We have to see those rules. We have to understand the actual, the ingredients are critical. Sometimes the ingredients aren't available. Sometimes you have to pay more than you expect. It's not as black and white. And it's a challenge in a way of that it's just not cookie cutter. There's just no, this is exactly how do you do it. When we started, the partner that we were working with ended up selling us his half, and we ended up taking it on because it started growing a lot faster than I think he even expected. Something that was kind of like, oh, we'll have it as an addition to, the rest of your businesses. And it was like, oh, this is actually becoming really big. And we kind of need a little bit more control over it. He had a totally other job, and he was like, I can't do both anymore. And we had a strategic partner who really helped us kind of what he was also doing in his business, showed us the way. However, even when you have those strategic partners, you are responsible as a business for your own standard operating procedures. The way someone runs their business is not necessarily the way you should run your business. And I was lucky to have that one person as we went through that transition Thank you, thank you. You know who you are. But now it's like, okay, even that had to kind of grow. And Mary Claire, actually, her husband came on last year to help us. He became our chief supplement officer, and he was able to really focus, really look into the intricacies of the business and how it would be best for us, which helped us a lot. So it was critical, to be honest with you, because we were getting to a place where like the microscope's getting bigger and we have to really make sure our customers know what we're doing. So we're ready. Like if a customer asks for this test, we have the answers. But at the time, there were a lot of questions coming at us that we were like, we had the answers, but they weren't organized. You have to be highly organized with a supplement business, highly, highly organized. And thank God my director of operations is incredible with systems, is meticulous, and I'm lucky.
Right now, it's strictly D2C. Have you guys thought about going Amazon route, going to a big box retail store? That's a whole nother beast, but
Yeah, I mean, there's so much lore with Amazon. Amazon is I'm shopping on Amazon. They offer free shipping. I mean, and it's easy to like put your product on there and have it looped into everything else that a customer is purchasing. It requires a whole nother level of operating procedures and our own internal planning, because you have to merchandise a certain amount. You have to plan for that. There's investments. We are 100% self-funded. So we talk about it. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And sometimes we don't necessarily think that it's our number one goal right now. Our number one goal is to make sure that we can support our current product line with the best quality ingredients. And again, when you get larger, securing those ingredients gets difficult. And so we're not interested in growing at a hyper fast pace. And that's kind of how but we're always strategic. Like, is this a good idea? Yes, it would be great to be on Amazon, but you have to do it right. And it's just they have a lot of demands. They have a lot of demands that you don't have control over. And it's whether you want to make those lower margins on your product and sacrifice things. And we're just doing some other internal things to help our own, like how we're selling our products specifically. Like we were about to move our subscription platform to Recharge, and they offer kind of a bundling service. So something that Chris, our CSO, was really interested in was currently we have like a bundle, and it's a set SKU, but we really want people to be able to say, well, I want to buy turmeric
customize.
and da 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 and da da da
Hmm.
and get a discount, and not just be set to this one grouping. So that's kind of the direction. So wise advice given to me a long time ago is one thing at a time. You roll out one thing at a time. These big changes in your systems, they take time. You want to do them right, and then those guys will always be there, and hopefully they still want to work with us. So
In addition to the supplements, you've also got the meal delivery program. Will you explain that? Because that's a really cool insight into just the power of strategic partners and not reinventing the wheel from the ground up, especially with something as complicated as meal delivery.
yeah, I think one of the biggest things we hear, I think this goes for everybody. I don't think it's just our audience, is everybody's running around. Not a lot of people have time to cook every single meal. And not every, with all the processing that's out there, we really were interested in being able to offer a meal delivery service, whether that's a strategic partner that we really believe in. So we did a deep dive into all the different delivery services that were out there. Everybody that would maybe align with the tenets of the Galveston diet, making sure that, but we couldn't really find anybody that like fit that mold. And we wanted something as simple. There was a couple, and we were recommending as simple as like someone who you could just buy chicken breasts, like 5 chicken breasts, and just order that and have that delivered. So you just had 5 chicken breasts in your fridge, or some sort of just like pre-made something that you could just pull out and then put on a salad and go. And we found this one company called Factor, and Factor is actually backed by a company called Meal Logic. And Meal Logic offered a white labeling service. And we talked to a few of the partners that they were working with and heard great things. And it's not just, they work with local kitchens, number one. So if you're in Texas, the food that's available to you is not the same as if you're in LA or if you're in Ohio, it's not the same. They really try to support local kitchens, so we really loved that. Number two, we could actually put in the parameters of what we wanted to see as employees of the Galveston Diet and the Pause Life. Like we were like, what do we want? And we were able to put those parameters in and then actually have a label on it. And then they actually have the whole back end waiting. I mean, they really provide a white label service. And we were nervous because we were like, oh, we're putting our name on this. And they have been nothing but supportive of our brand, supportive of our business, highly professional group. And, I think our goal would be to have our own line of food, but that's a whole nother lift. And if we could at least provide to our followers something that, was aligning with our parameters and we could talk them through how to order, how to make it, more like the Galveston diet and be fast.
When you have a large following like Dr. Mary Claire does and a loyal community, there's so many opportunities for product expansion. And we talked about it, the importance of one thing at a time. How do you evaluate those opportunities as they come in? Because I'm sure Dr. Mary's got so many ideas, your CSO's got ideas, you've got ideas. What's your way of processing those?
We do have a lot of people coming our way asking to either send us product. I think a long time ago, we got real careful about promoting anything on social media because it just felt like everything that she was putting on social media was from her heart. It was something that she actually used. It was actually something that she saw results from, and it was not paid. I mean, even she'll go as far as like if someone sends her something and she really likes it, she's like, no, 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 do not let them send me any. Like, I will go buy it. I cannot have people think that I'm just getting this stuff for free. That's the way she lives her life. Like, if she really likes something, she's going to buy it. She wants her followers to know that this is organic to her. Now, a lot of, what she's recommending is what she uses. And, but a lot of things that she feels like maybe missing in the market are what drives strategic partnerships. So for example, she promotes like a weighted vest. And we don't have the contacts to do a product development for a weighted vest. Now, she recommends one currently on Amazon that she loves, but it doesn't come in different sizes, so it's not for every woman. And I think for her, it's always like, how can I make this available for everyone? So if there's something that she's using and it only comes in one size, then that's almost like, okay, this isn't good enough because it doesn't hit all the boxes. Like, not everybody can use it. So how can we make this for everyone, if that makes sense? So that's a lot of how we think, is this going to help our community? And then we go after those partnerships.
And there's so many opportunities, but there also comes with a lot of pressure and something that we talked about before. But in the medical space, there's just like constant media answering questions, giving accurate information. You've developed so much trust and loyalty. How do you help Dr. Mary Claire deal with the pressure of having an audience that trusts her and making sure that you're always 100% in line and everything is the way it should be?
Yeah, I think even recently it's become more demanding for her. I think we look at her calendar, we talk with her. She wants to say yes to everything she can't, and we support her. I mean, we're a very supportive group. We know how hard she works, and she is very clear when she needs to take a break, and we respect that. And I think the people that are watching her respect that too. I've rarely heard anybody, if we really have to say like, hey, listen, can we reorganize this? Can we move this? I think people understand. As far as her followers go, I mean, if she's getting pushback, we're here to be a sounding board for that. She's not going to make everybody happy. And I think as a human, you know that, but she's putting everything out there. So if she gets a little pushback, it's hard. I think, she wants to help everybody. So there's always that point where I think she's just human. So we always, we have this new thing where if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. You don't have to stress through it anymore. You don't have to just do it just to do it. It should feel good. It should feel positive. If it doesn't feel positive, don't do it again. And we're just really evaluating that. And she's got an incredible family too. And with that, she's got a family. So it's not just about the business. It's about she's got a personal life.
Yeah,
And
everything else.
yeah, and she really loves them and wants to spend time with them. So
Yeah.
I get it. So we really try to, we call them, we're like, we're your pillows and feathers. Just like fall back, and
We got you.
yeah, we got you. Yeah.
One of the challenges of being a creator-led brand is trying to figure out how the brand can survive and live when she takes a break, if she needs to take 2 months off, if she ever wants to retire. How are you and Dr. Mary Claire thinking about that long term? Because I think this is something that a lot of creator-led brands are trying to figure out is how do I create a business that's sustainable without me, that's not solely reliant on me every single day?
Well, I think, it's twofold. The truth is, she's helping a lot of people, and that is extremely gratifying. We get to be part of that. We get to be a part of that, witnessing this really great time where women are responding and seeing so much change in their own lives. And that's highly motivating. I think we talk a lot about legacy. We talk about kind of going back to how do we teach other providers to do this? What's her next book? We know what the next book is about, but it's like it's not for providers yet, and she has a dream for a legacy and we want to support that legacy. So I don't think it's really about the business moves no matter what, but ultimately she is so passionate and I foresee her taking a break, but hopefully creating, just more awareness and helping to teach others even more and more and building that and building up others and other experts around her so that she's not the only one, but ultimately it's about legacy and she just that's what we're working towards. So I don't know if we could ever really just like say, okay, so and let's, for the COOs out there, it's like I wish that we could say, oh, let's build this, supplement business so that I could just sit on its own. And I think there's potential for that. I mean, in all honesty, like we could do that. This is a business podcast, so we could work towards that. But as we're growing through and as we're seeing how much this recent book is touching so many lives, it's become so much more than just that product. It's really about how can she help even more? And that is her. So it's hard to say when she'll back off, but hopefully we can continue to be, teaching more providers, making sure there's more experts coming up in the world, making sure that we're actually building a clinic in Galveston right now. We have the clinic in Friendswood, and it has 2 nurse practitioners who have just incredible rapport with patients and are so wonderful. And like, we need 2, 3 more of those in Galveston. So hopefully we'll be able to, create an even bigger practice here. And I think that's kind of how eventually maybe she'll be able to take even longer breaks. I really believe in my heart that she'll always kind of want to be a part of this message because she grows through it. We're all growing through it. And this is life. Like we want to live these like really big, beautiful lives, even though we've gone through a time in our lives where maybe we're not.
Yeah.
It used to be considered that you're like life is over, whatever, like the old sayings, like, oh,
Yeah.
because you're old or whatever. But she's just all about like, it's just beginning.
Yeah.
Like my life has literally like never been better. She's so energetic. She has so much to offer.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring. And I think we talk a lot about like, what gets us up in the morning, and we got to do it. My mom always says it's a 4-letter word, work. But the truth is, it's not even like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't even really think that that's the truth. Work is hard. Let's be honest. But if you're working on something that's mission driven, that contributes to the health of others, that makes people feel better in their bodies, it's interesting how much like how creative it gets and how much more fun and how your team like really gets into like the messaging and you just want to keep kind of giving. So I wish I could say there's an exit plan, but I think for us, it's just scaling. it's scaling to meet the demands of the force of this person who is changing lives. And that's like kind of my role is like, okay, bringing in more people that believe in this mission, not just like these like highly skilled. I mean, there are just women that are passionate about our messaging who want to be involved, and we are finding space. And I think it's scaling and making the message bigger.
Yeah.
So
My last question for you, Jen, is the need for great operators and helping people like Dr. Mary Claire scale and grow and build that legacy is critical. We're seeing more doctors, build their brands and help people and change their lives because people are not getting the care that they feel like they need. What advice do you have for those who want to help creators, run their business and help them achieve their mission?
there's so many things. I mean, number one, I would say find a really good computer programmer that you really trust. I think having someone work on your team that is highly skilled with websites, design of websites, being creative with website design. I want to say that that's a really good starting point. A lot of these creators they're familiar with their avatar. They know who their customer is or follower. So you don't really, the social media aspect of it, they're doing their thing, right? So I think at that point, you need to bring in people and operators and people that can actually kind of organize your messaging. Whether that is, so you have an amazing computer programmer that can scale, a graphic designer that understands website design, but also understands possibly digital advertising, being able to look at your analytics. So understanding how to measure and attribute where your followers are coming from, understanding just the actual movement of how people are coming to you, I think is really important. And then I think, providing resources outside that people can visit, and whether that's on a website, whether that's even on, your link tree, whatever that is, making sure that they're developing more resources that people can hold in their hands and they have access to. So I think that, having social media assistance is great, but you really need a strong foundation with a website program. I have a great one, thank God. I have an amazing graphic designer. Thank you. I have a team that is nimble. I work better in a non-traditional corporate culture. I work for a person who's she's a visionary. And so my role is to really take everything she tells me and then put it to the people, and then they get what I'm saying. So you need those two trusted people, I think, in your life. And then of course the support team. So those are the two things I kind of need in my pocket.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Creator Ops Podcast. If you're interested in chatting more about the creator economy, send me a message on LinkedIn or email me at hello@creatoropsmedia.com.